What is the most pathetic thing you've seen someone do for attention? This girl in high school I was kinda friends with liked this guy in her math class. To get his attention, she fell out of her desk in the middle of class. Then she did it the next day. And the next day. That was her plan to get him to ask her to prom. It didn't work. On sister's wedding day our aunt put herself into diabetic shock on purpose. Ambulance came. She could have died. Sister had to administer to her until ambulance showed up. Sister is a nurse. All because people were paying attention to the bride instead of her. Jeez. That's terrible. I was playing cello at a wedding where the bride's mom apparently disapproved of the wedding and had threatened to make a fuss. She wore black. Then during the whole ceremony she cried loudly, shook her head, and muttered at the vows, etc. It turns out that she had done this at all of her children's weddings. So I think she might just be a terrible person. Claimed to be a vampire. For 5-10 years, started in high school and continued into her 20s, until her fiancé threatened to leave her. I appreciate long-term dedication to a cause. But what if she was really a vampire, you guys? Had a friend who made up a fake girl named Melissa on MySpace. Clearly this was a while ago. She said Melissa was coming to our school next year and was currently being homeschooled in another town. Everyone became friends with the fake MySpace Melissa and one of our guy friends actually started falling for her. He asked for her cell. Apparently she didn't have one. He asked if he could hang out with her. Apparently her parents wanted to move away from our town because she wasn't paying attention to her schoolwork. So the guy asks if he can at least meet her before she moves. This is where my friend had panicked. She was the one pretending to be Melissa, and made up a whole story that the Melissa got into a car accident. Next day she tells us Melissa is in a coma. A week later, her parents take her off life support. This guy eventually put 2 and 2 together and exposed my friend in the middle of school in front of everyone. It was amazing. Desiree Jennings supposedly received a swine flu vaccination and was not able to walk as she once was able to. www. Wikipedia. Wiki Desiree Jennings controversy. In 2009 she was interviewed about her new disability and most people believed her story. Hell. Even I did at the time. However, as it turns out she had been seen in public and was miraculously cured, and sometimes she even had a foreign accent. Strangely, Bill O'Reilly was one of the first people to call bullshit when the original interview was aired. This may not have been Desiree seeking attention, but a group who is anti-vaccination spreading untruths about the issue as a scare tactic attention. I was completely disgusted by Richard Heen, a.k.a. Balloon Boy Father. The thought of the kid puking during the interview because of the pressure completely horrifies me. At a crowded party, saw someone poop in an empty pizza box. She was a total attention whre. Sounds like my kind of girl. I was talking to a girl at a bar, who I honestly was not remotely interested in, and this douche who I don't even know walks up and says, "Hey, what's up?" Oh dude. Am I cock blocking you? I have had that happen when I was talking to my GF. Apparently it was one of her friends I hadn't met and he was interested in her. I looked him in the eye and said no. Then I continued talking to my GF as if he wasn't there. Remember that girl with the Flickr account who had hundreds of pictures with her face badly photoshopped in? That was pretty bad. And so very sad. A girl in my high school used to fake all kinds of injuries. At one point she said she hurt her back and couldn't carry her books to class. So what did she do? She pushed them around on a damn computer chair. She was in a wheelchair for graduation. Not because she actually needed it. Even her parents complained about it. She was the most ridiculous attention seeker I've ever seen. Followed closely by a girl who faked 3 pregnancies. At about the time she should have gotten ultrasound pics, she lost the baby. Sorry. I have known people that have had miscarriages. It's terrible. Screw anyone that fakes it and wants my sympathy. Protest funerals. Granted, a certain amount of that is lawsuit baiting, but I'm sure some of it has to do with a psychotic need for attention. Who is Westboro Baptist Church? I'll take pathetic freaks for 400. Fake getting pregnant and then having miscarriages, abortions. Or people faking cancer. I've known one or two. Airing dirty laundry on Facebook. It's so common. And half the fools don't even realize how pathetic they are. No one f***ing cares about your bullshit problems. Freshman year. So this totally should have worked. This very cute girl, who had plenty of guys flirting with her, randomly starts talking about her nipple piercings. The conversation hadn't been about tattoos or piercings. No one says anything. She starts kind of cradling her breasts and tells everyone that she's got charms on the piercings. No one says anything. She asks us if we want to see them. No one says anything. Spent the next few minutes looking really sad, still cradling her titty. I almost took pity on her. But if the guys didn't want to see, and I actually didn't want to see, why bother? Oh god. Drunken flashback. Some girl at a club did something like this. Then when I was all no, I'd rather not see your breasts, she acted like I must be gay or broken or something. As if the thought that she was unattractive and showing strangers your breasts is not a turn on. Never even crossed her mind. Pro tip. Anytime a girl has nipple piercings, breast implants, she will show you if you ask. Always ask. My mother-in-law bought a pure white, beaded, long gown with illusion neckline, and wore it in my wedding. I wasn't even wearing white. My cat knocking all my stuff onto the floor just so I'll give her a midnight snack. She always pushes the items slowly across the table so you can hear this long annoying scraping noise before they crash to the floor. Then she looks at me for a moment to evaluate effectiveness. When she senses I'm drifting back to sleep, she knocks something else off. My teacher was reading passages from books and one of them was about a girl who was adopted. This one girl, Rebecca, ran out of the room crying. Later that day she made the teacher apologize for talking about adopted kids because she was adopted. Get that attention. There's so many of these stories from my high school. One of my teachers was a very well respected historian and he was teaching a class about civil rights. And he said, I'm going to say the N-word. But not out of disrespect. You just need to understand the exact examples I'm giving. Okay? Then when he said that the signs would say keep S out of our schools, a group of 2-3 black girls stood up and ran out screaming AW hell no he didn't, that racist ass white boy act. They tried getting him in trouble with the administration but they were like no? He's teaching you about civil rights. They probably weren't listening to the teacher at all until they heard that word. Somehow it never occurs to people that using the term white boy in a derogatory sense might be racist. Celebrity Big Brother. I know a guy who pretended he had a cancerous tumor in his chest. He shaved his head and eyebrows and had a real I'm so sad, everyone pity me demeanor. That was until my friend told his parents that she was sorry to hear about him being so sick. They didn't know what she was talking about. Roll on his miraculous recovery. My sister lied about getting an abortion. She called me out of the blue one night, crying and frantic, and explained that she'd gotten an abortion for her 5th kid. She's only in her early 20s. Never held a job. Can't care for the other 4. So I figured I'd just try to be supportive. Nothing to be done about it after the fact. Right? Turns out she was lying. She was just curious about how I would react. So she kept me on the phone acting suicidal for most of an evening. I guess she didn't have anyone else to talk to. My brother did the accent thing. Except he'd only gone to school an hour and a half away from home. And somehow picked up an English accent. It was sad. But hardly registers in the top 10 for my family. TL. Doctor, my sister called me suicidal about an abortion she never had. I was told a girl I work with made up a boyfriend in high school. He would send her cute texts and everything. When her friends would ask her to bring him to hang out and meet, he was always unavailable. One day he committed suicide for no reason. Very unreal what people will do. Most of the people I have met who are ex-military and were special forces, SEALs, Rangers, etc. I swear it seems that 98% of people who served claim to have been in the top 5% of eliteness. My roommate is one of these people. It makes me sad because he really doesn't have anything going on in his life since he left the Marines, so I just let him tell me these things. I was an officer in the military. My group and I belonged to the bottom 5%. Somehow we were the stooges of the military. Crashing vehicles. Breaking $75k antennas. Using rifles as brake blocks. Stealing a military truck. Drive to town and start bar fights with scumbags. One guy hit a moose with his grenade launcher and we spent the rest of the exercise picking moose from the training ground. One guy botched a grenade toss and a higher ranking officer ended up in the hospital with shrapnel in his ass. It all would have been quite funny and stupid. But we also had a suicide among us. Which makes it less fun to remember sometimes. I knew a guy who pretended to write this shitty pop punk song and recorded it himself. After some googling, turns out the song was by a shitty pop punk band. And confronted, he claimed he helped give the band ideas for the song. Yeah. Okay. Back when I was wasting my time on World of Warcraft, I had a guild member email me unsolicited dick pics in an attempt to win my heart. This is going to get buried, but I'll share anyway. A few years ago, I was sitting on the couch in the living room feeding my baby when I heard my sister-in-law come in the front door. She was crying and my mom, concerned, asked her what was wrong. She then claimed tearfully that I had just tried to run her down in my car. I can only imagine the look on her face as my loud WTF came from the next room. I still hate her for that. Lying bitch. I saw an overweight college girl ride a mechanical bull at a bar wearing a really short skirt and no underwear. When she fell off, she took a long time getting up, using every opportunity she could to roll around with her legs above her head bent way over. The entire bar ground to a halt and watched this girl drunkenly fooling around trying to stand up while exposing herself as much as possible. When she finally got up, she looked around and realized that everyone in the bar had the same shocked, traumatized expression on their face. And she burst into tears and ran and hid in the bathroom. She had probably been planning that all week. My ex has a bit of a problem controlling her emotions when she's angry. I ask her what she wants from McDonald's one night. She tells me the sandwich with the sauce. Being pretty perplexed, I tell her to please be more f***ing specific. She gets upset with me and refuses to get anything. I got 2 cheeseburger. Back at our apartment, she's yelling and slamming doors. At this point in the relationship, I was used to this behavior and pretty tired of it. So I just sat on the couch ignoring her. Her being upset did cause me to lose my appetite. So I left my cheeseburgers on the counter. Even more pissed now that I'm ignoring her, she bursts out of the bedroom, screams at me, walks over to my cheeseburgers, smashes them with her fists, and throws them across the apartment into our sliding glass door. I wasn't sure whether to laugh or to be mad. She got my attention for sure that night though. Fake panic attacks. As someone who gets real panic attacks, FCK those people. I rarely get a panic attack when it would make sense. Usually I get 2 or 3 a year with the strangest triggers. I've been standing in line at Taco Bell and all it took was a brief thought of man, a panic attack would suck right now, and somehow that spiraled into a full-on panic attack to the point where I had to go sit down because my vision completely whited out for a bit. I was also once at a hookah bar with some friends and one of them forgot her diabetes medication and almost passed out when we were on the way out. Seeing this somehow triggered a panic attack in me, and I remember coming to seated in a chair with several worried looking paramedics around me. My friend said the owner looked at the guy that packed our hookah as if to say, "What the FCK did you do?" Comment every statement and every discussion while having nothing valuable to say. correcting all small mistakes in emails or during face-to-face conversation, even during presentations in front of lots of people. By small mistakes I mean all those meaning nothing tongue slips etc that we all make and sometimes don't even notice them. Comma I mean all those meaning nothing tongue slips etc that we all make. I can't stand that. I'll be trying to read a snippet of an interesting article to someone and I'll accidentally slur or mispronounce a word, and instead of ignoring it and understanding that I'm only human, they have to shout, "Wow, you butchered that word, ha ha ha." Some words are complicated to say. Some of these words I have not had to pronounce before. Bear with me. Holy shit. Please. For the love of FCK. Let me just finish what I'm saying without interrupting me. A girl I went to school with, called Lauren, had lived in Cyprus for a year when she was about 8. When she went to college, she obviously wanted to reinvent herself. She started introducing herself to everyone as Lorenza and called herself a Cypriot. She would get really angry whenever any of her old school friends would visit and call her Lauren. Everyone reinvents themselves a bit at uni. It's one of the things that makes it such a great opportunity. Changing your ethnicity nationality is a bit extreme though. Invade Poland. We were invited. Punch was served. I used to hang out in a chat room where we had several instances of one person making up several personas and talked as one persona about how wonderful his relationship with the other personas were and how wonderful they were and so on. It was kind of like a teen soap opera, except that everyone else seemed to completely buy into it and thought it was real. At most, the same person had like 4 or 5 personas who were friends. 2 of which were twins. 2 of which were kind of best friends, almost a couple, and so on. They would be logged on at the same time, talking to each other and about how wonderful the other person was and so on. But were quick to leave once an operator, who could compare their IPs, appeared. It lasted for months. Maybe more than a year. And they even had several cell phones and texted people and so on. I was eventually made an operator for a little while. And a friend and I totally busted them. Didn't expose them publicly, though. It was just kind of really sad. During freshman orientation week my first year of college, I met a guy who told me all sorts of wild stories about his life. Such as he was a professional underwear model. During a casual basketball game, a girl fell down and sprained her ankle. And immediately, this guy drops to the ground, holds his leg and starts wailing. I don't know what happened next, but a few days later the guy told me he'd been taken to the hospital and had been in a coma. Edit. I remembered another one. A girl I knew from a different college once contacted me and several other people on AIM and said she was going to jump off the roof of the parking garage. I got her to tell me where she was, then called campus police on her. She was very pissed off about that. She wanted us to come rushing to her rescue. Edit X2. And another one. At the last retail job where I worked, someone turned in an application with a big header scrolled across the top. I need this job so badly I will kill myself if I don't get IT. There's one in every university. Learns 3 chords then plays Wonderwall 2 hours every day in the middle of campus. Ask everyone in their phone book for SX. I learned how to play Swing Life Away by Rise Against on the guitar to impress a girl. It worked. Rewind 15 years ago or so. And this is me learning 3 Doors Down Kryptonite. Now I just play it to elicit groans. A girl once told me she's going to kill herself if I don't go out with her. She then drank some sleeping pills, threw up and went to sleep. This emo girl in my class made a fake BF on Facebook called Zero Wolf. He only had 12 friends, her friends, and the 3 pics of him were completely different people. I don't know what's more pathetic. A girl my friend knows pretended to have cancer for 6 months. Convinced everyone. Got sympathy from everyone. Got her friends to drive her to the hospital. Shaved her head. whole thing fell apart when someone phoned her mum to ask how her treatment was going. The mum had no idea what they were talking about. She even had get well pages set up on Facebook. Pretty f***ed up bro. Save Ferris. Someone I know got a phone call and started crying. Later that night. He still was. So two of my friends went to go check on him. He told them how he had a tumor in his brain and had it removed a few years back. He had just received a phone call from a doctor saying that after his most recent checkup, they found another. My two friends did everything they could, including getting up and rocking out to Staying Alive by the Bee Gees. We all eventually learn and do our best to comfort him. 2 weeks later, we learn he does not have brain cancer. Instead, his mom does. He told my friends his mom's cancer story as if it was his own. All while crying and getting multiple people to worry about him constantly. I still can't understand how he could do something so disgusting. But I know it was for the attention.